welcome back to the second segment on the COVID-19 pandemic. Right here with me, I am not only with a leader in the medical fraternity, Dr. S.M. Chirisa, a psychiatrist, who is actually the deputy director of psychiatry in the whole nation of Zimbabwe, and also a man who is renowned for faith preaching under Wisdom City Ministry, one of the fastest growing ministries in Zimbabwe right now, having been started a few years ago, not yet into a decade, but already into multiple services, and has produced champions, leaders, young men and women who has got all the marks of leadership that can only come under good stewardship in a good church. Right here, you are also watching from www.abjtv.net, and we are back with our second from last segment. Trillions of dollars have been lost. Many countries are coming full in with packages, bailouts, stimulus packages of up to $1 trillion. And many economic giants, including the financial center of the whole world, the USA, have actually gone beyond $1 trillion in trying to come and cushion the after effects of the economic impact of COVID-19. Just recently, if I heard well, it's believed that one of our largest retail supermarkets, OK, which holds the OK supermarket chains together with Bon Marché, in this new lockdown, which came after the infections had hyped up again, especially the local infections, are reporting a drop up to 32% gross revenue depletion. And this would then downstream to everybody because people are being retrenched, working hours are being cut off, salaries are being slashed, and there is just so much people have to deal with, and there's so much people have to rewire themselves, edit themselves, so that they function with less in places they use to live and function with allowances, salaries, and businesses that could meet their needs. So much pain out there. And even as churches, we are suffering the pain. We have to teach faith like we have taught it, like we have never taught it before. We have to pray prayers we have never prayed before, because you have people who have got a real problem that is not only confined to an individual, neither is it personified to anyone's failure or inefficiencies, but are also interrelated and intertwined to what's happening in the society. As a leader in psychiatry, I want you to speak from that standpoint. You understand psychology and the human mind, both the software and the natural emotional content of a human being when there is especially a financial crisis. What is the impact on individuals and families due to the economic backlash of the pandemic, and how, not this doc, you need to help us here, how should people deal with chronic stress or depression, which is coming as a result of the financial struggles that has been perpetuated by this pandemic?
Thank you, Apostle. Your question is pregnant, and is also multifaceted in the sense that we have to define what financial stress is.
Yeah.
Financial stress is a psychological phenomenon that happens to a person when they fail to meet their financial obligations.
Okay.
And they are likely to get into debt, and or there is decreased or likelihood of losing your income.
All right.
Now, each one of us, we have a lifestyle or a way of living that we had been used to.
All right.
But the pandemic comes unannounced, hits, and it demands you to change your lifestyle.
All right, I see.
And as people, one of the things, it's normal to resist change. Nobody wants to change their where they stay, what they drive, what they eat, where they send their kids, what they are, nobody wants to change their lifestyle because that's how you have, encircled yourself and enshrined yourself as a person.
Yeah.
But now when your business is not performing like it was 3 months ago, you might have gone to a holiday in December.
Yeah.
But right now you might be failing to put food on the table.
Yeah, true.
Because things change drastically and just like that.
Yeah.
Without warning, and it's not your fault. And that causes, so what happens, especially if you're a head of family,
Okay.
a single mother, or even both, you start to have sleepless nights. First thing, one of the things,
Anxiety.
you start to have anxiety. You start to plan. This is where you start to count money that you know it's not enough, and you count it several times. You know exactly how much money is in your bank account or in your wallet, but you count it slowly.
So that confusion is psychological.
It's psychological, but and when you see that happening, you know that you're already under financial pressure. Because what happens is stress can come from within or from without. And what is happening is you are saying, how am I going to balance things tomorrow? What am I going to say to my kids? What am I going to say to my 7-year-old that now you can no longer eat pro-neutral, you are now going to have to go for Mbambaira. We saw that story that came. And you can't afford bread anymore every day. Now you have to eat with rice or whatever the case might be. No meat or that. So that hits the ego, especially of a man. And if women are not careful or spouses are not careful, they can actually make it worse.
Repeat that again, Doc.
If people that are married are not careful, they can actually make it worse for one another because they will start to accuse and say, you are not a man. Where go outside and run. But things are so tight, and this is a person who was at work.
Yeah.
He cannot just wake up tomorrow and start running something that is not used to. Or start a business tomorrow. Business don't just start tomorrow. In fact, 99% of businesses fail in the first 5 years.
Which means if there's no recalibration within couples, the pressure we mount on each other due to expectations which may not change to be compatible with the situation, will exacerbate the emotional stress and trauma.
Will make it worse. So we'll see people suffering from anxiety, depression, emotional instability, which will cause them to become, for women, when women are depressed, they will cry, they'll spend time, they'll have loss of energy, they'll be tearing or crying, they'll spend most time sleeping, men, when they are depressed, they might not, they can exhibit those same symptoms. But one of the symptoms that we see is aggressiveness.
Okay.
They can become irritable.
Okay.
So a small little story is turned into a huge fire. So that's what you'll be seeing a lot of violence.
Depression is always underlining.
Yes.
Whenever there is a perpetual violence and all right.
Yes, a lot of gender-based violence as a result of small misunderstanding. So what we need to do is that this thing has affected the economies. It has even affected, we've got relatives that are outside the country. And their capacity to send money even to Zimbabwe has been reduced. So even people that were depending on people that were in South Africa or in the UK to maintain their lives here, those people have been affected where they are.
All right.
Some have even come back. So that support is no longer there. So there's need to face the facts and say, look, this is the situation that we are in. In my business entrepreneurship training that I do, I even told entrepreneurs that you must, the number one thing that you must do is to face the facts and say, this is the situation that you're in. You must interrogate and say, where are you? How much are you getting? Are you still able to sustain? And if you're able to sustain, for how long are you able to sustain that lifestyle? What must you do to perpetuate until another opportunity comes? And I always tell people that it's time to make hard decisions when it comes to what you are doing, where you are living, what you are driving, where where you are living. There's no need for you to be renting a huge house. In this, it can no longer be for sure.
All right.
It has to be practical and meeting your needs, not wants. First, we have to look at things, what is needed, not wants. A lot of people, their life is full of wants.
All right. So now you diagnosed the depression and the sheer stress, which always comes with financial hardship, but now he has been stretched by the pandemic that's going on. And you getting, before I allow you to get into the recommended reactions to the problem, I just want to nail this point, that there are some things which are abnormalities which you may be seeing either as a couple or your children are seeing in you as parents or relatives that are dependable on each other. In Africa, we have a lot of dependables. That's how it is, because we are coming from a backdrop whereby some institutions are not strong enough. Institutions like the pension institution is not strong enough, which means when your parents are retiring at 65, they're going to be dependable on the children, not because they wanted to, but because the pension systems in places like Zimbabwe, Nigeria, are not really intact to bail out someone out of work. And we have family dependables, we have friends, neighborhood dependables. In Africa, we are a village community, even in the suburban setup. And we have children who have to change expectations and spouses who also have to rewire themselves and change the parameters in which they would budget and they would spend. So all these things, from a psychiatric point of view, are imminent. And not only are they imminent, they are also mandatory for you to undertake. But I'm asking you, Doc, to really expound the way you chiseled out the diagnosis of financial related chronic depression. And now, what should I do? I don't have money. I used to live on 1,000. Now 60% of that is gone. My system is in shock, and I have to downsize abruptly. Downsize the quality of education my children were getting. Downsize the quality of livelihood we were living in. It's not easy. It's not easy, because this mind is a software that works in its own way. What should I do? I have been shocked. I'm into something I never budgeted for. Meteorology couldn't foresee it, and here I am. Half my income is gone. Half my earning capacity is gone. What should I do?
Thank you, Apostle. I think what I have told my mentees in my business mentorship class is that when an abnormal situation arises, it also demands abnormal actions and thinking.
Perfect. Wow.
So you cannot attack an abnormal situation with normal ways.
Wow.
So this situation that we're in is also demanding the same reciprocal reaction and thinking. So the first thing that I always say is you need to look and interrogate your status. Where are you? Get the facts right.
Okay.
Get the facts right about your income, your expenses, and say, where am I getting my income? Is it going to be there? For how long? What are my expenses? And then you look at that and you compare.
All right.
It is also important to have what I call a money conversation.
Okay.
With your spouse, with your kids,
Okay.
with all the people in your surrounding that were benefiting from you. We are in Africa. There's black tax. I don't want to call it black tax, but it's that's what it is.
Yeah.
You have to communicate to those people that the things have changed.
Yeah.
So that expectations do not persist, because people's expectations will only change when they are given information. If you don't give them information, they will continue to expect what was before, because you dared not to speak to them. So it is important to speak to everybody who is feeding from your trough and tell them that the situation has changed and some of the things we will not be able to do. Because if you don't do that, they will curse you, they will speak to against you, they will rebel, and they'll give you attitude. But if you've spoken, then it's that won't be the case. The second thing that we have seen is that a lot of people have heaped a lot of junk in their world. They've got 3 cars, they've got 5 televisions, they've got 3 fridges that are not doing anything but producing water. So what you need to do,
there's alcohol, cigarettes.
You need to start to dispose and liquidate. That's what I always say. Yeah, you liquidate the assets that are sitting, that are not giving you. They will buy some time for you.
Wow.
Instead, so I always say that look at what you have in your house. The Moses concept. What's in your hand? There are things that are already in your hand that you don't see as money, because money is not written on them. But when you look at your 3rd car, which you hardly use, it's money seated and locked in there. And these are things, so you need to liquidate things early. Because more people are going to be liquidating and the prices will probably come down. So the earlier you react, you probably get a better price. But you are better off with cash, and then you locate and say, with this cash, how can I divide this and budget this cash? A lot of people don't budget. Less than 15% of people live on budget. If you look at your couples in your church, Apostle, and say how many have got, they live from the pocket. But when it comes to this, that cannot be so. That is irresponsibility. That is lack of stewardship. What we need is to have a budget. Even if you are a single person, you're a young person, you must have a budget. You must know your expenses. What are you going to use on your hair? What are you going to use on your airtime? What are you going to use for your travel? Because if you don't do that, you are going to think you've got money because you've got money in your pocket. But you want to stretch this dollar, you want to stretch that money. So you want to have a budget. Everybody must immediately go on a budget. But one of the things that I also say is, when you are playing the game to survive a pandemic, the first thing that you must do is you must be defensive.
All right.
You must defend your territory. And you do that by budget, cutting your cost, cutting your expenses, and telling people you are defending what you have. But the other thinking that I also speak, especially to entrepreneurs, is that you'd never win a game by just defending. You need to have a good defensive mechanism, but you also need to be on the offensive. After you have done the budget, after you have liquidated, after you have looked at your expenses, you then have to sit down and say, what can I do to increase my liquidity, to increase my income? So you have then to do things that are beyond, what can I do? Do I need to reskill? Do I need to retool? Do I need to look at other things that I thought they were not important? Do I need to go into agriculture? What can I do? What can I sell? What can I buy? What can I be a middleman? Even which is not part of the things that you were doing, but you now need to do. It's not what you are doing, it's whether it's bringing some income to you. And a lot of people, I always say that money, when you are using money to buy bread, it never asks you where you got the money from. whether you got it from gold panning, whether you got it from selling mazichke, whether you got it from selling matemba. It never asks you. So I am not so much, challenged by where the money is coming from, how you are getting it. The question is, do you have it for you to pay your bills?
Wow.
And that's very important. So you need a two-pronged approach. The first one is defensive. Defend what you already have, see what you can do, then you go also on the offensive so that you don't sit down and say, look, I'm done. But you also say, what can I do? What can my wife do? And I